The story begins at the time when the Second World War was going on. A young boy named Desmond also joined the army like everyone else to serve his country. When he reached the training camp, he had no idea that the journey ahead was going to be so tough. At that very moment, their drill sergeant made a thunderous entry. He was shouting so loudly that anyone standing nearby could go deaf. A soldier named Smitty, who was playing with a knife, got so startled by the sergeant's sudden entry that the knife got stuck in his own foot. And one of the soldiers didn't even get time to wear his clothes. Sergeant Howell was exactly the kind of soldier we see in movies, loud, angry, and always commenting on people's appearances. Desmond found his strange behavior quite amusing. But now the soldier who didn't wear his clothes on time was punished. His punishment was that he had to do his first training session without any clothes. During the start of the training, they were taught different types of knot tying so they could quickly and effectively tie ropes. It's something very important to learn. Desmond found it quite difficult, but since he had grown up in the mountains, he easily outperformed everyone else in running and climbing exercises. So far, everything was going well for him. But the real trouble began when it came to using weapons. Desmond, because of his principles, refused to even touch a gun. Hearing this, Sergeant Howell immediately took Desmond to Captain Glover's office. Desmond told the captain that he had been informed he wouldn't have to handle weapons, and he also mentioned that he couldn't work on Saturdays because that day he prayed to God. Glover laughed at his words. He realized there was no point taking Desmond into battle when he wasn't following the basic rules. After this, Desmond was sent for a mental checkup because the captain didn't think he was fit for service. Meanwhile, Howell was insulting all the soldiers, making them feel ashamed. He told everyone about Desmond's refusal to fight, saying, "This guy wants to go to war but doesn't want to fight. Wow." He warned everyone not to trust this man in battle. That night, before lights went out, Desmond was looking at his fiance's picture inside his Bible. Smitty suddenly snatched the Bible from him, but Desmond didn't get angry. He calmly said, "Brother, give it back, please." The next day, Desmond went for his mental evaluation. He told them he was completely fine, not sick at all. He was just a little different. He believed in God. He wasn't crazy. The doctor understood that Desmond was perfectly sane and couldn't be dismissed as mentally unstable. Since he wanted to work as a medic, he could be allowed to serve, but only if he completed the training. However, Captain Glover's ego was now hurt. He wanted Desmond gone. When he couldn't dismiss him by the rules, he ordered Howell to make Desmond's training even tougher. From that moment, Desmond was given the hardest, most exhausting tasks. Even toilet cleaning duty was assigned to him. To make things worse, Howell flipped his bed one morning and canceled everyone's upcoming leave, blaming it all on Desmond. This made everyone furious with him, and that night, while Desmond was sleeping, a few soldiers beat him badly. Smitty, who was watching this from a distance, wondered why this man still wanted to go to war when he wasn't getting any respect. People cursed him, hated him, yet he didn't quit. The next morning, Howell saw Desmond's bruised body and, feeling pity, told him, "Son, why don't you just leave? Go home." But Desmond refused, saying, "No matter what happens, I'll go to war not to kill, but to save my country." He didn't even name the soldiers who beat him, saying instead, "I fell. That's why I got these wounds." When their training ended, everyone got leave except Desmond, who was arrested for disobeying orders. Meanwhile, at home, his fiancée Dorothy was waiting for him on their wedding day. When he didn't come, she somehow knew something had gone wrong. Desmond wouldn't leave her like that. In jail, Desmond was breaking down from the inside. During that time, Captain Glover came to meet him and suggested that if Desmond admitted his mistake, he'd be released without further action. But Desmond said, "I can't support something that's wrong." Later, Dorothy came to meet him. The problem was simple. He just refused to use a gun, without which his training couldn't be completed. Dorothy said, "Why don't you just agree? Finish your training first, then don't use it." But Desmond's decision didn't change. He wasn't always like this, though. As a child, he was very short-tempered. To show how he changed, the story went back in time. Now we see a young Desmond who had a brother named Hal. His mother Bertha was a deeply religious woman, and his father Tom was a retired soldier. One afternoon, Desmond and Hal were fighting. The fight escalated, and in anger, Desmond hit his brother on the head with a brick. Hal barely survived. Though Hal lived, this incident had a deep effect on Desmond. He realized he had done something terrible out of anger. When his mother explained things to him, his guilt deepened even more. From that day on, the angry boy turned into a calm man. One day while working in the church, Desmond saw a man man who had met with an accident. Without hesitation, he rushed out, used his belt to stop the bleeding, and took the man to the hospital. The doctor praised Desmond for using his mind wisely. His quick action had saved a life. Seeing the doctors' and nurses' work awakened something inside Desmond. He wanted to become a doctor, to help people. That day, he saw a nurse named Dorothy. The moment he saw her, he fell in love. He was just looking for a way to talk to her. When he learned he could talk to her while donating blood, he immediately agreed, saying, "Take as much as you want." The next day, Desmond came back to the hospital again to talk to Dorothy. After chatting a bit, he finally asked her out. Dorothy also found him kind-hearted and said yes. Their first date went really well. However, on the way back, Dorothy was a bit shocked when Desmond suddenly kissed her. She said, "It's not that I didn't like it, but you should have asked for permission first." Despite that awkward moment, their relationship blossomed beautifully. Dorothy began giving Desmond her medical books, and he started learning about medicine. A few days later, Hal told the family he had joined the army to go to war. He only told them after his enlistment was confirmed to avoid objections. Their mother hated the word war, believing that taking a life was against God. Seeing Hal in a uniform brought back Tom's painful memories of his own time as a soldier. All his closest friends had died in battle. War had taken them all. Tom, devastated, started drinking. Angry at his son's decision, he threw Hal out of the room. Later, Desmond told his mother, "Mom, I'll join the army too, but not to kill anyone, to save lives as a doctor." The next day, he told Dorothy about it. She didn't like the idea of Desmond risking his life unnecessarily, but he said, "The country needs us. If we don't go, who will?" Before leaving, he told her, "I want to marry you first." Dorothy was surprised, but said yes. The wedding date was fixed. Before leaving for war, Desmond visited his father, who was standing by the graves of his old friends. In a bitter tone, Tom said, "They were fools talking about war and patriotism." He didn't want to bury any of his sons, and especially didn't think Desmond would return alive, because after nearly killing his brother, Desmond had sworn never to harm anyone again. Now the day came for Desmond's training. Dorothy gave him a Bible with her photo inside, a symbol of their love and faith. We already saw what happened during the training. Now Desmond was in jail, and Dorothy didn't know how to get him out. When nothing else worked, she called Desmond's parents for help. The next day, Desmond's father, Tom, went to Fort Jackson in his old uniform with all his medals on it. Without hesitation, he met his old commanding officer, who was now a brigadier. Desmond's court-martial began, and he stood firm on his statement of innocence. Just as he was about to be sentenced, Tom arrived with a letter written by the brigadier. The letter reminded everyone that according to the Constitution, every man has the right to refuse things that go against his beliefs. To avoid further controversy, the case was dismissed and all charges against Desmond were dropped. Now he was fully allowed to serve in the war as a medic without carrying any weapon. Finally, Desmond and Dorothy got married and spent their first night together. In 1945, Desmond's unit was deployed to Okinawa Island in Japan. They were heading straight into battle. As soon as they arrived, horrifying scenes awaited: piles of dead bodies being cleared like garbage. They realized they were replacing soldiers who had already died. The remaining troops from the previous division were merged with Glover's unit, and there Desmond met two other medics. They learned about Hacksaw Ridge, a place America had tried to capture 6 times but failed every time. The Japanese targeted medics intentionally so that the wounded couldn't be helped. Because of this, Desmond had to remove his medic sign to avoid attention. Soon the unit reached Hacksaw Ridge. Capturing it was vital. It would mean control over the whole island. Heavy bombing started to weaken the Japanese defenses, and smoke covered the battlefield. The unit used this as a chance to climb the ridge, fully ready for battle, unaware of how terrifying it would be. As they advanced, Japanese soldiers began fierce counterattacks. One by one, American soldiers fell. But Desmond kept helping as many as he could, even those left behind. Several times, Japanese soldiers came close to killing him, but Smitty saved his life. After a long, brutal battle, night fell. The Americans decided to hold their position until morning. Howell instructed everyone not to go anywhere, alone stay in your trenches. But Desmond continued saving the wounded, risking his life to rescue every man he could. He brought back several soldiers and then rested with Smitty in a trench. By now, Smitty's attitude toward Desmond had completely changed. He admired Desmond's courage and selflessness. They joked a bit, and their bond grew stronger. That night, Desmond had a nightmare. He dreamt the enemy entered their trench and killed them both. Terrified, he told Smitty about it. Smitty was amazed. "You didn't even pick up a weapon in your dream. even when they were killing us. You're something else, man." With nothing else to do, Desmond shared his story. His father had been an abusive drunk who used to beat his mother. One day, when things got too far, Desmond grabbed his father's gun and aimed it at him. But instead of feeling powerful, he saw his father break down, fall to his knees, and cry. His father's condition was also because of the war. He had lost all his friends to it. From that day, Desmond swore never to touch a weapon again. Smitty then shared his story. He had never seen his father. His mother left him at an orphanage when he was just a child. The next morning, the Japanese launched a counterattack while the Americans were still half asleep. Under heavy bombardment, Howell ordered a retreat. The Navy tried to provide cover, but the Japanese were too strong. Smitty was badly injured, but Desmond didn't panic. He carried him to safety. With no other choice, the American troops withdrew completely. Desmond could have gone too, but he didn't. He could still hear the cries of the wounded left behind. He decided to save them. Captain Glover was leading the retreat and left only a few men behind for observation. Meanwhile, Desmond, risking his life, kept rescuing the wounded, lowering them one by one down the cliff using a rope. When Glover realized what Desmond was doing, he ordered artillery cover fire to protect him, but this also revealed their position to the enemy. Still, Desmond didn't stop. Trucks arrived to carry the rescued soldiers. He kept working even as the Japanese closed in. He found one wounded soldier and, thinking quickly, covered him with dirt and placed a corpse over himself to stay hidden. The trick worked. The Japanese passed by without noticing. As soon as they left, Desmond pulled the wounded man out and lowered him down safely. Meanwhile, Glover was desperately asking his superiors for help, but they hesitated because of the ongoing battle. As the fight raged on, Desmond took another dangerous step. He climbed down the cliff, but this time the enemy spotted him. Under heavy fire, he jumped into a Japanese tunnel, where he found an injured Japanese soldier. This tunnel was used secretly by the Japanese. When some soldiers passed through, Desmond hid quietly. He wasn't caught, but found another badly wounded man. Desmond didn't see him as an enemy, just another human in pain. He gave him morphine and dressed his wounds. When Desmond came out of the tunnel, it was late at night, but even the darkness couldn't stop him. He kept rescuing more and more soldiers. His hands were bleeding from the rope burns, yet he didn't stop. He even helped wounded Japanese soldiers down safely. By morning, Glover saw many rescued soldiers at the base. One of them said, "The man we called a coward did all this alone." Soon after, Desmond found Howell and another injured soldier. Both were hurt but alive. Howell said, "Come for me later, save him first." Desmond took the other man to safety and then came back for Howell, but a Japanese sniper spotted him and shot. The bullet hit his helmet and he survived. Howell still had bullets left. Desmond ran into the open to reveal the sniper's position. As soon as Howell saw it, he took aim and shot the sniper dead. Desmond dragged Howell towards safety, but they were spotted again, and bullets started flying. Howell fired back while Desmond kept pulling him away. As they descended the cliff, the Japanese fired from above, but the American soldiers below shot them down. Desmond had now rescued everyone left alive. When he reached the bottom, everyone looked at him with deep respect. He was completely exhausted and taken to the medical tent, where they learned the other medic hadn't survived. After everything, Glover came to Desmond and said, "Brother, you're great. Forgive me for how I treated you." He admitted that no one else could have done what Desmond had done. Glover also said, "Tomorrow we'll go back up the ridge, but tomorrow is Saturday, your prayer day. If you don't want to come, it's fine." But Desmond said, "I'll go." Before the attack, the entire unit waited for Desmond's prayer to end. No one wanted to move without him. This time, the Americans launched a surprise attack. The Japanese weren't ready. With reinforcements and the tunnel Desmond had shown them, the battle turned in their favor. Midway, some Japanese soldiers waved white flags as if surrendering, but it was a trap. They suddenly threw grenades. To save his comrades, Desmond grabbed one grenade and threw it back, but it exploded early, injuring him. He was carried away on a stretcher, and on the way, his Bible fell. A soldier stopped and picked it up. The American army finally won. Hacksaw Ridge was captured. This is the true story of Desmond Doss, the man who single-handedly saved 75 soldiers on Hacksaw Ridge. Desmond was perhaps the only man in the world who changed the course of war without picking up a weapon. Without him, those 75 soldiers would have died. For his bravery, he was awarded the Medal of Honor, America's highest military award given during wartime. If you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.